Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We are joined on set by the representatives of Orinco. We have with us Andrew Oren. He's the Managing Director over at RF&G Insurance. Good morning.
Good morning.
We have Norman Moore, who is the General Manager over at Home Protectors Insurance. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Duffy Nunez, he is the CEO of the ICB.
Yes.
So good morning, gentlemen.
Good
morning.
It's
Good morning.
all about your 40th anniversary of the development of Orinco. Congratulations. 40 years of bringing insurance and protection to all of our citizens here in Belize. How does that feel?
It's a huge milestone, honestly. As you would know well, we had our beginnings in mid-June in 1985. We had 5 companies that started Orinco at that point in time, and throughout the years then we had other insurance companies that added on and came a part of Orinco. As Orinco, it was founded on the fact that the local companies needed to, I believe they wanted more collaboration within the industry. Collaboration and not competition really, but trying to foster a more cohesive community within the insurance industry. And so far it has held up, and 40 years later we're still here.
Wow.
What has been some of the changes? I know you're a younger generation of insurance managers, so to speak, or insurance executives, but what has been some of the changes that you guys have seen over the time from 1985 to now? If you could identify perhaps some milestone achievements other than the fact that you're celebrating 40 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to touch on the first part first, the younger generation. I think 40 years is a long time. In each of our cases, we are part of multi-generational family businesses. Each one of our either in my case, my grandfather, in Dufy and Norman's case, their parents started these insurance companies, and they have since transitioned through generations. And so we are now just part of that whole generational transition and moving this industry forward. To the changes, I mean, the changes are enormous. I mean, from technology, when I think I'm a little bit younger than Norman and Dufy, not much, but when I started, we were working totally on paper. Even though we had computers to help us, paper was a heavy part of the industry. Just to get your insurance documents could have taken a long time. You'd come in, you'd buy your insurance, and then you'd wait sometimes weeks or longer to actually receive the documents in the mail.
Yeah.
Things are changing and we're becoming more technologically advanced. I mean, that's one. The number of motor vehicles on the road is a huge change as well, and very impactful to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, you guys report on the news regularly what happens on our roads, and that's always an up and down of how do we enhance enforcement, how do we make sure at the same time people can move safely from one place to another, and behind the scenes, often very quietly, is the insurance industry, who's there making sure that their vehicles are being repaired, their medical bills are being paid, and sadly but factually, that when they die, that burial expenses can be paid and people can be laid to rest.
With that all said, do you think that citizens of Belize take insurance seriously?
Let's get that.
That's a good question. I think that it's one of those things that I think we were discussing a bit before we started. It's not one of those things that you want to pay for, but you certainly appreciate after the fact. Should the unfortunate happen and the bills start to come, then you realize that yes, it's something that's definitely worth it to me to have, because some of the expenses can be really onerous.
Life-changing.
Yes, these are. You go to a hospital and you start to get some of those bills, and then you realize, thank God I have insurance.
Indeed. agreed.
To your question of do they take it seriously, I know when people take it seriously. When a hurricane is sitting, a few hundred miles away, the phones are ringing off the hook.
Yeah.
That's when
Yeah.
insurance gets taken seriously, but that's not when you should be thinking about insurance. You should be thinking about insurance when things are calm, in a coherent mindset. You should meet with your insurance advisor, whoever it might be, from any of the companies here or the ones who aren't present here physically today. Understanding what it is that you need and what fits your budget and what fits your needs, and then purchasing that insurance policy with a long-term mind frame of keeping it in place, so that when that big hurricane shows up or that unexpected life-changing event occurs, you're in a position to help yourself financially, and you can then walk away from that, hopefully continuing on without the burden of cost on you.
You guys represent 3 different insurance companies, even though you're under the Orinco umbrella.
Yes.
And you probably have other partners who are not here with us today. How do you dispel this notion, or how do you perhaps treat with the idea that there are people out there who look at insurance as a scam? It's one big thing on it. Take the money
and get nothing out of it.
It's a prevailing thought that you talk to Belizeans and they feel that way. How do you treat with that?
I think on our end, we feel almost the same, I would say, because we're on the receiving end of a lot of, I would say, fraudulent claims at the same time. So then now we need to strike that balance. I mean, we're always there in the time of need, in the time of your weakest moments, and trying to assist you in trying to get you back on your feet. We hear that comment all the time, honestly, but again, it's like I said, it happens in reverse for us, right? Because on our receiving end, like I said, we see again the influx of a whole lot of claims that would not be legitimate then. Right. So then we have to try to siphon out the bad ones from the good ones in that end. And then I think right there is where the whole notion of, oh, you're just a scam, me, this, that. No, it's that we have already we have suffered some losses like that already, but we need to make sure that we protect ourselves, because it's not only us but our other partners that work along with us.
Yeah.
Right.
I think my question initially about if people take it seriously is because we were discussing the RTA situation. We had quite a number of RTAs within the last year or so. And you would think that with the amount I pay for insurance, right, I really, really don't want to get into a vehicular accident.
And you're really right about that, because last year, just to give you a bit of statistics from my end, last year, October, the 3rd week in October, like every 24 to 36 hours, we had a motorcycle accident occurring. And that was the worst week of that year, with motorcycle accidents only, right? Now, again, and majority of the times, whenever the accident happens with a motorcycle, it's really 50-50. The person it's either fatal or really seriously injured, right? So with those statistics that we have, we must now try to again balance the scales in a sense, and trying to deal with those claims and deal with the other ones. Right?
Well, your 40th anniversary is coming up. 40 years of trying your best to safeguard the lives of everyday citizens of Belize. And how are you all planning to celebrate, and not just celebrate, but continue to raise awareness of the importance of having insurance, whether I insure with any of you?
We have a list of events.
The main one would be the what's happening on June 21st. We're having the motorcade that will be starting from West Track and then ending at the Constitution Park by the Fort George area. And when it ends there will be a market day. All insurance companies will be there to, interact with persons. On hand, we'll also have like Bert doing some illustrations, because what you don't know in the back end, that Orinco does support Bert in its initiatives sometimes, right? We'll also have demonstrations from RT Auto Sales that will be doing trying to assist with educating persons about their frame damage of the vehicles. We'll have I think the Diabetes Association will be out there again trying with HealthWise, trying to get your blood testing and stuff out there. And just basically trying to bring more awareness and consciousness to you in why you really need insurance, right? And try to preventing, these sicknesses or so by testing and stuff.
I think that's one of the big things with health insurance, especially, is that health insurance obviously can help you through a health issue. But one thing that people really, and you asked about dispelling notions of insurance, one of the other things I feel that we really struggle as Belizeans is looking forward about our health. We're often very scared, so we don't do it. And when we find out that we have some illness, whether it be curable or terminal, we clam up and we don't share that information with anybody. We don't talk about it. And that doesn't help the person who's struggling through that. And it doesn't help the other people in your community to realize, hey, had I gone and gotten that colonoscopy, maybe I would have detected this a few years ago, and maybe I would have been able to deal with it a little bit differently. So this is part of it. There's two sides to the insurance world. There's we call it in Belize the general insurance, which is your home, your house, your physical assets. And then there's the life and health side, which is life insurance, health insurance. And so we'll all be out there present, sharing our own portions of information about the industry and about how people can do more. Because on the other side, Norman mentioned motorcycles. We're also working closely with a lot of the motorcycle associations who themselves are concerned. They see, harder regulation coming down on motorcyclists. Some of it's good, some of it may be a little bit onerous. They also see the dangers to their own people who are out on the streets. And so they're trying to raise awareness that one side, motorcyclists need to ride more safely. They need to follow the laws. They need to wear their helmets. You can't be zipping in and out of traffic like that. And then on the other side, motorists need to be aware and conscious that there's way more motorcycles on the road these days.
Yeah.
So when you're driving, you have to look out for vehicles, pedestrians, dogs, cats, everything. And motorcycles as well. Because if it's not in your consciousness, then your brain won't register it, and you'll pull right out of that intersection into an oncoming motorcycle.
Will people be able to sign up or register for insurance? Right there at the market.
I'm sure each one of the companies will definitely make themselves available to talk to you about what they can offer and how they can onboard you as a customer.
My final question, and perhaps it's a full circle approach here. You represent a different generation of insurance, as I established earlier. What was that transition like for each of you guys to take on the mantle of your family business where that is concerned? Let's start with you, Doofy.
Well, I'd say the transition for me was fairly easy because growing up, I worked with my dad and in the company, taking summer jobs and just doing stuff around the company. So I was kind of just brought up with the people there and the environment and knowing, the way the company operates. So for me, it was just it's an easy transition into now what I'm doing now. I understand the industry. I've seen it grow. Like Andrew was talking about before, we used to use typewriters. We actually have one in my office just to remind us that that's where we came from, right? And from basic infrastructure, just a little house on Daly Street, to know where we are now, countrywide. It's amazing to see, because it's a Belizean story, and so going back to it, yes, it was an easy transition for me to do it, and I'm happy that I get to see the fruits of my dad's labor.
You know one?
Yeah, for me, my story is a bit different, but again, like Doofy, and I believe like Andrew, I literally grew up in it. So from the age of 8, I've just been having summer jobs at the office. My parents was, my dad was specifically very adamant about that. He wanted me there at the office. So I literally started out by stamping his checks, that he would, write and pay off everything. From there, again, it just graduated up to, I went to the different levels in the office. Used to do messenger work there. But the biggest transition was 2005 when he actually passed away. And my mom had to step up, and thereafter I had to fill my mom's position because she was actually the assistant there at the company. So that occurred, and she led the company all the way up until the COVID pandemic. During that time, I actually left to go and study. Then I came back, and when I came back, there was a transition period during COVID, and thereafter, just easing into the general manager position. My mom still holds the CEO seat there, so I do have a boss to report to. Thank God it's my mom. All right, but it was a good thing that my father was adamant that I just started from I was young. I actually always like to run a joke that I've never had a summer job outside of that office. So when I actually had to get a job outside, for the first time, I was like confused, like don't know what to do. But yeah. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Yeah, I tried to stay out of insurance. Here I am. But no, it was similar. I did work summer jobs in the company. I eventually was asked to come in after working outside of the company whether I'd be interested in joining, and I ultimately did, and worked my way up through underwriting and claims and sales till eventually ending up in management. I guess the difference with me is that RF&G had, previous to even me arriving, had brought in professional overseas managers to help the company and its trajectory. And so I got to understudy a gentleman named Guy Howison, who was RF&G's previous managing director for 17 years, which was great. I learned a lot from him and took over the role. And one of the exciting things about the next step forward for RF&G is that Doofy said it's a Belizean story, and we do a really good job here of running insurance companies. And RF&G in 2023 has now exported that service essentially. RF&G now operates in St. Lucia and St. Vincent. And so we're now moving the company not just to be a Belizean company, but also a regional Caribbean company, because if we don't start stepping out, then those companies will start stepping in. And so we need to make sure that we can compete at all levels.
Great initiative, and congratulations to all of you for 40 years of being in service to Belize and Belizeans, really. But I can't let you all go without figuring out this cultural phrase of the day. Are you ready? I don't know it, and I would really like some help in understanding. So here is our cultural phrase of the day. Plantain not eat like rice. Plantain not eat like rice. Right?
Yeah.
What that mean?
What that mean?
Yeah, plantain not eat like rice. Plantain not taste like rice.
I've heard it before, used in different contexts, and I think that's what it is. It's like it's a comparison thing, right? You can't. They're just different in many ways, not just how it tastes, but what it does for you.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to take a shot?
And it just I think that just plantain not eat like rice. It's saying it's not the same as like, I mean it's substantial, but not as substantial as the other one, right?
Yeah. If we say boy, I make a ketchup at $5 or so, and he said, "Boy, plantain not eat like rice."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Things don't happen like that for me.
Things
right now.
not happen like that. What do you think,
Yeah.
Norman?
The same thing. I think that when you use the phrase, depending on the context, but I mean, I think 100% of the time the context is exactly like what Isani said. They happen for me right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Damn.
So,
I don't think I ever heard this one. Maybe it's my generation. I don't know. Plantain not eat like rice.
Yeah,
They happen.
Yeah.
Right?
It's in line with one okra.
What?
Right,
Well, that
right.
one I know.
Those
That
are
one I know.
Creole
One
proverbs that
yeah.
you can't escape it.
Let us
All right.
know. And thank you, gentlemen, so
Thank
much
you,
for your
guys.
time.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
And of course, thank you to our viewers for helping us out with that cultural phrase of the day. We're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, it's all about the Olympic Association. And their activities are introducing table tennis. We'll be right back.